just want to take some time and kind of talk through a little bit about why I'm doing this or what this channel is or what I'm trying to communicate. And, I've watched my videos. I've been doing this only 1 week. I watched my videos, and this is not something like an area where I'm comfortable. I do work in marketing, so like I'm aware of everything you're supposed to do. And I think I've just decided I don't care a little bit. Like, I don't want to chase algorithms. I know there are probably things I should be doing. I have a job. I have a family, so those are things that where my focus is at other times. So I realize that there are a lot of things in that the way that I'm portraying the videos, it's a script, and I don't love that, but I think it really does. Like, I want to hit on these points, and that's very important to me because I do want them to be helpful. I'm a ranter. You'll notice in this video, I have it labeled as a rant. This is not like me at my best as far as communicating is concerned. But a little bit to the book itself, when it really started with me wanting to evaluate and change some of the behaviors that I had in my life. And so I started to want to reflect on who I was being as opposed to react. I was nearly 100% reaction, which is defensiveness or a decided sense of self that maybe wasn't reflected in reality or wasn't reflected in my relationships. And so I started a morning daily reflection. And in that reflection, I asked myself some honest questions, and they were just to me. So I really decided I wanted to be as honest as possible. And some of those questions are like, am I being who I want to be? Am I being a good person? Something like that. And I think what it did was it brought up other questions that required some foundational elements like identity. Am I being who I want to be? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be who the people around me want me to be? Do I want to be how I was raised? Is there an image out there that I want to replicate? And I wasn't entirely sure. And so I had to start to think through the concept of what is identity. And that makes up, I think, a big chunk of the book, Be a Little Ghost, that I'll have coming out in a month. And so that was sort of the origin, was how do I change behavior, and then why am I changing the behavior, and to what is it to be good, to do good things? What does that mean to me? I also found a lot of things about therapy speak. A lot of the people I followed online, things in conversations with people. I'm 46 years old, so I think a lot of friends and people that I interact with are kind of going through the same thing. We're given this new language, this new therapy language that we can now sort of define how we feel. But then, like, I don't know that we're given the how do you heal that? How do you work through something? And so you get a lot of phraseology like I'm processing. What does processing mean? What does it mean to actually heal? Lots of people say, "Oh, I'm on a healing journey." Oh, okay, well, a journey to where? What is do you reach a point where you're healed? Does that actually happen? The I'm triggered. Like, are you angry? Is it my fault you're triggered? Is it your fault? Are you bringing something in from childhood? All of these things created a lot of confusion around these concepts that we were all communicating, that I don't think anybody actually knew what they were saying. I think if someone said I'm processing, and you go to them and say, well, what is that process of processing, which is actually the name of a chapter in my book. I don't know that 9 out of 10 people could actually tell you what that is. I think it means I'm either A, going to ruminate, I'm going to overthink it, or B, I'm going to avoid, which maybe speaks more to their attachment system or theory, attachment style, than it does to actually processing something. So I had to go and figure out, well, what does it mean to actually process? And as I was figuring these things out in the search to how does one change their behavior, I started to realize that this might be helpful. It's very important to me that I stay, like, I'm not a teacher or a therapist or a philosopher, and I think that my what I'm trying to do is work through it myself. And as I learn things and as I evaluate things, I think that I want to be able to share that. And if it is helpful, great. Do I think 100% of every opinion or thing that I share is going to be helpful? No, because I'm not exactly sure that I have it completely right. But I do think there are some interesting things there for people that if you use some of this sort of therapy speak, that you'd be able to say, oh, okay, I actually need to think through this. And all of it led to this idea of, well, what is the truth? We all have to live within the bias of our own perspective. I will only ever live in my mind. I cannot be in your mind, and you can't be in anyone else's. And so the idea then is, how do we reach truth in order to actually evaluate our behavior so that we can change it? And I think the process is we decide the identity of who we want to become. That's the benchmark. That's the goal that we're trying to reach. And then we evaluate our behavior against that benchmark. I want to be honest. I want to be somebody that acts as opposed to disappears. I want to be somebody that has a voice as opposed to is silent or a people pleaser. And you've got to decide what that means to you. What does it mean to have a voice? And then that is the benchmark upon which you weigh your behaviors. And then there are 6 stages of behavioral change that you kind of go through. And so I think what I'm trying to do is really add practical, pragmatic process to these things. And I'm hopeful that that's helpful. But, in a sense, I kind of wanted to say why I'm doing what I'm doing, where I really am at, and what you might take from any of this.